There was a time when freedom had a color, when identity was not chosen, but assigned, a time when the law did not protect justice, it protected division. This was not hidden, this was not secret, this was written. Enforced. Normalized. This was apartheid, in 1948. In South Africa, a system was formalized, not invented overnight, but perfected, a system designed not just to separate people, but to organize power. People were classified, white, black, colored, Indian, but these were not just categories. They were limits, invisible walls, that shaped every aspect of life, where you could live, where you could work, what future you were allowed to imagine. This control was not chaotic, it was precise. Through laws like the Group Areas Act, entire communities were relocated, families removed, histories erased, not because they committed crimes, but because they existed. In the wrong place, pause for a moment, imagine waking up, and being told your life has already been decided. Would you accept it, or question it? But these laws were not just written, they were enforced. Entire communities were destroyed overnight, homes that had stood for generations were reduced to dust, families were given no choice, no appeal, no time. They were loaded onto trucks, and taken far from the cities, to places designed for control, not living. One of the most famous was Sophiatown, a vibrant community, alive with culture, music, identity. Until it was erased, not by war, but by policy. Apartheid did not rely only on force, it relied on belief, because the strongest system is the one people stop questioning. Education was separated, opportunities were unequal, but more importantly, expectations were controlled. Some were taught to lead, others were taught to follow, and over time, this structure begins to feel normal, not fair, not just, but normal, and when something feels normal, it becomes harder to resist. Every black South African above a certain age was required to carry a pass, a small document, but it controlled everything: where you could go, where you could work, whether you could exist freely. Without it, you could be stopped, arrested, beaten, detained, at any time. Imagine living your entire life with the constant fear of being asked. But history has a pattern. Whenever control becomes too tight, resistance begins to grow, quietly at first, in conversations, in small gatherings, in thoughts that refuse to stay silent. Organizations began to form, among them, the African National Congress, and within it, voices began to rise. There were moments when the system revealed its true face, moments when control turned into violence. In 1960, thousands gathered peacefully. They came without weapons, without violence. They came to protest past laws, to say, we are not criminals for existing. But the response was not dialogue, it was gunfire. Police opened fire on unarmed protesters. Dozens were killed, many shot in the back. As they tried to run, the message was clear: even peaceful resistance would be punished. Years later, another moment would shake the world. This time, it was children. Students in Soweto took to the streets, protesting a system that forced them to learn in a language not their own. They were young, unarmed, hopeful, but again, the system responded with force. Gunshots echoed through the streets, children fell, panic spread, and what began as protest became tragedy. And when the streets became quiet, fear did not disappear, it moved into the night. Homes were raided, doors were broken, people taken without warning, no explanation, no return. Families learned to sleep lightly, because the night was no longer safe. One of those voices was Nelson Mandela. He was not born into power, he was not born a symbol, he became one, because he refused to accept the system as permanent. He believed something dangerous, that no system, no matter how strong, is beyond change, but power does not surrender easily. It reacts, it suppresses, it punishes. Mandela was arrested, tried, and sentenced to life imprisonment. For 27 years, his body was confined, but his ideas were not. Outside the prison walls, the world was changing, protests intensified, voices grew louder, international pressure mounted, sanctions were imposed. The system that once seemed unbreakable began to show cracks, because here is the truth about power: it can silence individuals, but it struggles to silence movements. Think about this: what makes a system collapse? Is it pressure from outside, or resistance from within? Eventually, the system reached its limit, negotiations began. The same system that once refused to listen was now forced to. In 1990, Mandela was released, and in 1994, history changed. For the first time, South Africa held democratic elections. And the man once imprisoned became president, but here